from YouTubers to news websites, from independent cartoonists to stand-up comedians, from lyricists to independent musicians, from print media to authors. So SMART serves as a beacon for those striving to create a rational ecosystem for Hindus. So at SMART, our mission is very simple, yet profound, to ensure that no Hindu voice goes unheard. So a fake report on a non-Hindu getting harassed, a fake report on a non-Hindu getting harassed in India is reported by Washington Post and Al Jazeera. Whereas a news on Palghar lynching in Maharashtra, it doesn't cross the borders. And take Ramalingam's murder, it doesn't cross the borders of Tamil Nadu. So that's how we started something called the amplification program, where such atrocities against Hindus must be heard across the globe. So we wanted to create a counter establishment. So we extended, but how do we do that? So we extended our invitations to Swarajya magazine, followed by Op India, the Stream YouTube channel, Dharma Dispatch, Janam TV, Sudarshan TV, one by one, north to south, east to west. So what we got to know is they also embraced the vision what we were having, and they believe that such an establishment is required, and all the big names joined with us in the first year. And then, hundreds and hundreds of YouTubers are also across the nation with lakhs and lakhs of subscribers. They were also functioning here and there. So we wanted to bring them also because they are the influencers. So we invited them to join SMART, and they all were happy to see such a counter establishment. So you all know that news content creation job is not easy. On top of it, being a pro-Hindu content creator is not at all easy. You need funds, research support, all kinds of studio support, editors, etc. It's not an easy thing to do. So we provide attractive schemes, incentive programs, news amplification initiative, etc. All schemes designed to empower the content creators. So and crucially, what we have decided to keep the membership free of cost. So we incentivize our members to report on the news which is often neglected by the mainstream news channels. So we support them accordingly. And we started with 25 members, and today our membership is across 280. So when our Tamil YouTube member cover a story, it is also covered by a YouTuber in West Bengal and vice versa. So to highlight one of our successful amplification programs, we were able to achieve the shutting down of a missionary in Andhra Pradesh with the news coverage by our member, the Commune magazine, which covered the story, and our SMART members, the other 280, they amplified it. So till 2020 also, the Open Society Foundation by George Soros was unknown for many people, till 2020. Until our member, the String YouTube channel, exposed about him and about the about Open Society Foundation, which again the SMART members, they amplified on all platforms. So again, post that, the String channel was taken down by the YouTube. That's how strong their ecosystem is. If you put a video which the high society didn't like it, your channel will shut down. So anyway, we extend our arms to any organization or individual who share our vision. In our journey, we had forged partnerships with esteemed think tanks such as the Pondi Lit Fest, Western Guard Lit Fest, the World Hindu Congress, Mangalore Lit Fest, and numerous other events that align with our vision. So through these collaborations, we strive hard to spread our message. But our effort is not just only collaborations. We are committed to preserving the rich heritage of our culture, the literary heritage. So that's why we have undertaken the noble task of funding independent translators to translate the timeless works of Sri Sitaram Goelji into various Indian languages, ensuring that his wisdom resonates across the nation. So furthermore, we support Indic authors through our dedicated scheme, providing them with resources and platform to promote their books. And yet, our journey is not without challenges. Too often, our brave, smart members, especially those who run YouTube channel, they are often targeted for daring to speak the truth. So in response, we have established a team of dedicated lawyers called Justice for Bharat, who provide free legal services to those unfairly arrested. So in states like Tamil Nadu and West Bengal, where the threat to free expression for those who are pro-Hindus is particularly acute, our members, they often face arrest and harassment simply for questioning conversion activities, questioning the missionaries. So in these moments of crisis, Smart Serve is a rescue center. So today we are 250. Our mission is to become 1,000 soon. We are keeping our invitation open to all those who share our vision. So let us forge united under the banner of Smart to create more inclusive and diverse and equitable media landscape where atrocities against Hindus doesn't go unheard. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Meenaji. Now I call upon co-author Shri Siddharth Ji to deliver his address. Please welcome, sir.
Thank you everyone for gracing this arena with your presence here. It's a privilege for us to have traveled from Delhi to Chennai to meet you in person. And thank you very much for the response that this book of ours, Modi and India 2024 in the Battle of Bharat, has so far managed to garner since it was released in the month of November last year. Thank you very much, Mr. Anand Raghunathan, for supporting us a second time round. You were there at the time the book was launched in Delhi in November. And also to Mr. Guru Murthy, as and when he comes in, we're very grateful that he could make it for this occasion. The genesis of this book, in fact, as I speak, I have half a mind at the press conference that's currently being held by the Election Commission of India, which will be announcing the dates for the 2024 Lok Sabha elections very soon, including counting day. And the more I, of course, deliberate over what we've written in this particular book, the more I feel that our introduction needs to be slightly updated to bring it to speed with the turn of events that we've witnessed over the last couple of months. Beginning with, of course, the Pran Pratishtha of the Ram Mandir that took place on the 22nd of January. And also before that, the unanimous verdict delivered by the Supreme Court, which upheld the decisions taken by the Union Government of the 5th and 6th of August 2019, where they abrogated Article 370. They also, of course, bifurcated Jammu and Kashmir into Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. And of course, we've seen another very seminal development, which is long overdue, should have happened in 2019 itself, which is the promulgation of rules and the notification of rules with respect to the Citizenship Amendment Act. The legislation was passed in December 2019. It's taken 4 years and 3 months, but I guess it's never too late. But it's sparked off another series of debates over the legal validity of that particular provision, whether or not it stands the test of the Constitution. And it gives us an occasion to revisit what we've written in this book as well, because a lot of what we've argued has in fact been validated. Let me in fact just take you through the seed of the idea. I mean, Rahul and I were colleagues at the time that this book came to us, or the proposal came to us, with Mr. Premaka Goswami of Penguin approaching Rahul. And I'm very grateful to Rahul that he agreed to take me on board as a co-author and collaborate on this work. We were given a very limited timeline. We were approached sometime towards the end of, I would say, at the beginning of 2022. The end of 2022, I beg your pardon. And we only had about 4 or 5 months to submit the very first draft. And one of the things that was actually challenging is that as you approach the elections, you want to write a lot more, because you don't want any of your work to get dated. You want it to be as contextual as possible. So we ended up revising our draft over and over again. And finally, after 6 months of hard work, it's a miracle that we managed to balance our work lives, our personal lives with our commitments to Penguin as well. And we came out with this product, which has fortunately been very well received so far. What I'll do here is to just give you a synopsis of what we've written. In fact, this was something that we had managed to conceive of at the time that the book first came to us, and Rahul was in his cabin at that point in time, and he just jotted down a few ideas in terms of the broad contours of the book, where he kind of laid out some of the topics and subtopics that we could possibly explore. And we thought we'll begin with Article 370, and that's our very first chapter in the book. Apart from the introduction, of course, it's called A Pledge to Bharat Redeemed, because there is a tendency among some to, of course, dismiss what happened on the 5th and 6th of August 2019 as an ambitious plan on the part of a certain few saffron fabulists, as they'd like to describe them as. But I think it has a lot of implications for our polity generally, and not just from a legalistic perspective, because the abrogation has been upheld, but also in terms of our cultural linkages vis-a-vis Jammu and Kashmir and the rest of India. It was a cultural and an emotional integration in more ways than one, and not just simply a political integration as a result of the abrogation of a discriminatory article. Thereafter, we come to another chapter called The Hindu Ethos and the Calumny of Communalism. The trigger to write this chapter were the kind of responses that were coming in when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was part of the Bhumi Pujan ceremony of the Ram Temple. This happened on the 5th of August 2020. And there were many people back then who had said that this is something that violates our secular principles. The very fact that you have the Prime Minister of a country partaking in a religious ceremony to them was anathema as far as our secular values were concerned. We interrogate that particular point of argument from the ideological opponents of the BJP, and why we believe that's actually quite misplaced. The kind of narratives that were being propagated about his participation in a religious ceremony that was actually akin to an exercise in many ways in civilizational reclamation. The third chapter is called They Took the Hindu Out of the Indian. And here's where we basically examine debates within academic circles in India, post-independence especially, where following, of course, our independence and in the years after our independence, a good 3 to 4 decades, there was a deliberate attempt to distort certain aspects of our history, particularly the unpleasant aspects of our history dating back to Mughal rule and thereafter. And there was an attempt to sanitize that part of our history. And we basically draw an analogy with the denazification process that took place in West as well as East Germany. Remember that with the onset of the Cold War, they belonged to 2 different blocs. And yet the Soviets on the one hand, the Americans on the other, were quite keen that the respective Germanys that they were in control of undertook a very sincere process of denazification, where the true atrocities committed by Hitler, right from 1933, the time that he came to power, to 1945, were documented in detail without any distortions. We've unfortunately failed to do that with respect to a very unpleasant part of our history, right from, say, the onset of the Islamic invasions till, say, about the late 18th century. These haven't been properly chronicled, and we should have had our own Vergangenheitsverarbeitung. That's the process of denazification that the Germans undertook. It should have been done post-independence, but there were certain compulsions that dictated the motivations of some of the people in power. One was, of course, the trauma of partition, and people did not want to kind of ensure that the cleavages that still existed were still existing, were not exacerbated beyond a point. But then again, we need to introspect as to why that process of distortion continued into the 60s, into the 70s, and so on and so forth, even if we give the benefit of the doubt to some of the people in power at the time that we became independent for having taken a cautious approach to writing history. Whether Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb is our next chapter. We interrogate the idea of a Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. We argue that the situation is a lot more complex than is portrayed. And as many experts have now begun to actually come to terms with, the British actually inherited a situation that was ripe for exploitation. It's not as if they created a policy of divide and rule. We were divided in more ways than one. They managed to take advantage of the divisions that existed. And that's pretty much the sum and substance of that particular chapter. Discriminatory secularism is chapter 5, where we talk about how we inherited a very lopsided approach towards secularism, which unfortunately has come to be pejoratively connoted with minority appeasement, which is what it was. We take 3 or 4 standout examples. One, of course, is the state control of more than 100,000 temples in different parts of the country, and the Charitable Endowments Act in many of the southern states that have undergone modifications over a period of time, but unfortunately still exist. We also talk about how there is discrimination with respect to the minority status of certain groups. if you have nationally designated minorities, it's only fair that in states where there are Hindus who are a demographic minority be accorded the same status, at least within jurisdiction of those states. Unfortunately, that's also not happened. You either believe in minoritism or you don't. And you can't be having a selective approach to that. So that's another aspect that we interrogate. The third is, of course, this demand for a uniform civil code. I think we take a fairly balanced approach to that particular issue. In principle, I think it's a wonderful idea that every Indian citizen needs to be wedded to one common code. If they have one criminal code, ideally they should have one civil code to follow. But unfortunately, in the absence of a proper draft that none of us have been able to see, how do we know what actually protects the interests of a particular group or doesn't? And if you are indeed determined to bring in a UCC, as the state of Uttarakhand has done within its borders, can you really afford to have a selective approach? If you look down upon polygamy as a practice within one religious outfit, then it can't be that polygamy can be allowed to practice in certain other groups. So certain scheduled tribes, for example, have been left out of the ambit of the UCC in Uttarakhand. We actually take a step forward and say that, look, if you want to bring every Indian citizen within the purview of one law, now's the time to do it. Let's not create exceptions and make way for one appeasement replacing another. So that's the chapter on discriminatory secularism, where we take about 3 or 4 case studies to examine the situation in depth. Hindu Raj, a study in inclusivity, is where we actually managed to extensively speak to one of our preeminent historians, Meenakshi Jainji, because we wanted to get a perspective where we could actually contrast the fate of religious the fate of Hindus under Islamic rule with how religious minorities in India were treated under Indic rulers. For example, Chhatrapati Shivaji, for example, in the Deccan, or for that matter, Maharaja Ranjit Singh in Punjab. And some of the examples that she managed to cite to us were quite revealing about how these rulers partook actively in the religious ceremonies of all populations within their territory. And that contrast is something that we draw in that particular chapter to basically lay out a thesis that if you have Hindus in power with a certain dharmic approach completely wedded to the dharmic core of our civilization, you cannot be, it can't be that they'll actually adopt an exclusivist approach. The idea of dharma in many ways is inclusive, and that is something that we reaffirm in that particular chapter. Yeah, I'll just wrap it up. Then we, of course, come to the Constituent Assembly debates, which were the basis of our constitution in more ways than one. The ideas that were deliberated and debated, and how the idea and concept of dharma was not alien to those debates. In fact, there were many people who did advocate that we should embrace secularism. At the same time, there were others who said there's no need to add the word secular. So long as you remain true to your dharmic roots, you will adopt a secular approach nevertheless. So it's basically superfluous to be adding that particular term to our constitution. Chapter 8 is Imagining a Hindu Rashtra. We basically explore the articulation of the idea of a Hindu Rashtra by very prominent ideologues through history, be it like Damodar Savarkar onwards to all the way up to Mohan Bhagwat, who is the current Sarsanchalak of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, and how that idea has evolved over a period of time. There might have been certain articulations that might have appeared exclusionary at that particular juncture, but in fact it's now become quite watered down, one would say, and is truly inclusive in every respect. Can India be tolerant without secular? This is one of the most interesting chapters that we have, where we debate the narrative that's being propagated by one particular section that believes that if we become some kind of a Hindu Rashtra, we'll become a Hindu Pakistan. Are we a Hindu Pakistan? Can we ever become a Hindu Pakistan? What's the trajectory that Pakistan has followed since it adopted Islam as its state religion versus the secular approach that we followed here? We also, of course, examine the idea of a Hindu Bangladesh that some people speak of. Bangladesh, by the way, is an Islamic state while being secular. Both the words, Islam as well as secular, are part of its constitution. And yet, unfortunately, its own trajectory following its creation in 1971 is something that we've not emulated. And even if we stay true to our dharmic principles, that's one approach that we'll never take. Thereafter, the final chapter is, of course, the Supreme Court's idea of what a dharmic rashtra is. It's called Yato Dharmastato Jaya. That's the credo of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court itself is wedded to the idea of dharma and has talked about the idea of a dharmic state in various judgments. Why should we shy away from speaking about it? The Supreme Court does not believe that a country wedded to dharma is necessarily asecular or irreligious, or for that matter, exclusivist. So I think one should shy away from the kind of commentary that hesitates to take a position on the idea of a dharmic India and a dharmic nation. So that's pretty much the essence of what we've argued in the book. It's very succinctly explained in 10 reasonably short chapters. There's, of course, hundreds of pages of footnotes as well that we've referenced. So it's a fairly exhaustive work as far as research is concerned. It's taken quite some time for us to come out with this. A lot of sacrifice at a personal level and a professional level as well. And I need to thank Rahul a lot for all the support that he's extended to me. So that's pretty much this book in sum and substance. I'll leave it to Rahul now to take you through the rest. Thanks.
Thank you, Siddharth sir, for your wonderful speech. So, in every festival or in every functions, we used to light the Kuttuvelakku and occasionally started. So now I request all the dignitaries present on the stage to light the Kuttuvelakku and start the functions. I now request the dignitaries present on the stage to formally release the book, Modi and India 2024, The Battle of Bharat. I now call upon Sri Muthuramanji, Director of SMART and Director of Swarajya Organizations, to please come on the stage to unveil the book. There is one more. Now, all the dignitaries present in the stage can unwrap the book and launch it.
Now I request N. Muthuraman, Director of Swarajya and SMART, to felicitate our dignitaries with the memento. So, Dharmaji from Nationalist Madrasi also have some special gift for the guest. No, not Mysore Pak. We have Namo candy. Yeah. Thank you. Now I request Anand Rangnathanji to address the gathering. Okay. Yes. So I invite Guru Murthy ji, editor of Tuklak, to please address the gathering.
Namaskarams to all. It has been my long desire to meet Ranganathan. I have become his fan for quite a time. You know, looking back as this book is being released, 1970s, late 60s, it was such a humiliating thing to be known as a Hindu, even more humiliating to say one is a Hindu, much more humiliating to say one is a Brahmin. You know, that is the time we all grew up. From this vantage point of where we are today, when we look back, this 50, 60 years of transition has been massive for a man in the autumn of his life. That such a change could take place in this country. That where the word dharma itself was reduced to a sectarian idea, we could articulate dharma in a proud and confident manner. We never thought. We all thought, in fact, it was much worse to be in RSS. I was Hindu, I was a Brahmin, I was RSS. And I had the fortune of being one of the well-known professionals in my late 20s. And I was a sought-after professional. But I was looked down upon because I was an RSS man. By my own friends, by my clients. And to be in the media was a bloodhound. It continues to be so. And in the media, to function among editors, they will always tend to think that there is much to educate this boy. That was the situation in which I became the advisor to the Indian Express. You can understand at the time, Mulgaon ka Ajit Bhattacharya, Kuldeep Nayar, they were all the standard setters. There is pitch darkness everywhere. And that was where Naminarayan is sitting here, my colleagues in the RSS. The kind of humiliation all of us underwent at that time, we had only one hope, that this country cannot be snuffed out. Our dharma cannot be snuffed out. That there is something much deeper than what we see outside. There is an inner strength, there is a spiritual strength. That is what kept us going, not the number of people who are with us. We are very little support anywhere to look at, in politics, in society, in community. From there, from this vantage point, when I look back, that's what I told my colleagues. In fact, I told this to Rahul when he sent the copy of the book to me, that I am so happy that there are so many young, bright people today to do the work which was considered to be so offensive and so humiliating. So this country has come too much more than what I thought in my 20s and 30s. And I consider this book as an outcome of that ecosystem change. I was a fortunate person. I was respected in the society, in the professional circles, in the business circles. Even in the media, personally, I was respected and accepted, but not my views. It was considered to be something Neanderthal in the light of the contemporary civilization, Western civilization. So from this, I would like to share some of my thoughts about what we have been denied in respect of our knowledge about what our civilization is. Before that, I would like to mention that there is a huge change taking place in the world itself. We all started with the one-size-fits-all model which the West set out in 1951. The United Nations document for development of underdeveloped societies said that you have to give up your philosophy, your value, your culture if you want to develop. This was an official declaration which had such a binding and persuasive effect all over the world, in all countries, particularly countries which were looking to development, more democracies, which had much more closer relationship with the West. And we were told, our sociology departments, our economics departments, our literature departments, they all expounded this view. Unless you cease to be what you are or what you were, you can never develop. It is such a powerful and persuasive argument. And that's how the whole idea of de-Hinduization of India began, because all the ills of India were put at the doors of the Hindu society, Hindu philosophy, Hindu value systems, Hindu way of life. It was not one of those social arguments or philosophic arguments. It is earthy, economic. This is called one-size-fits-all model. We all fought against it. When we ran the Swadeshi Jagran Manch campaign against globalization, when I was talking in the Administrative Staff College of India, at the time I was probably the only person articulating the alternative viewpoint, because the entire world had defected to one point, towards one side, towards one thought, towards one dress, towards one language. So when I spoke about how globalization is going to be a disaster, one person stood up and said, people like you must be shot dead because you are taking the country 500 years back. That was the atmosphere. As late as 1994. So, we were evangelized, educated, accustomed to think that we should cease to be what we are if we have to develop. The present generation will not even know the kind of pain that people underwent. I have seen very ordinary RSS workers suffering humiliation at home, in their communities, in their localities. It's 100-year penance of RSS that has produced a Narendra Modi. Narendra Modi is the cutting edge of the battle that the RSS fought for 100 years. It's not an ordinary battle. Thousands and thousands of people worked and passed away without their name being known even in the organization. Slowly, personal level, at localities, huge shift took place. And of course, Ram Janmabhoomi acted as the catalyst for the mighty energy that the RSS had generated into a mass movement. I was part of it. I'm proud that I was part of such a massive shift. And I was also deeply involved in organizing the opposition parties and fighting Rajiv Gandhi. Bofors issue came. Everything came as if it is a series of accidents moving towards a final destination, that is the rise of India. Today we are in a very different position. We are in a happy position. We are in a confident situation to fight for what our two generations had lost for us. The two generations which were born after independence failed India. The generations which were born before independence fought and died for India. The subsequent generations thought once we got freedom, we accomplished everything, and they forgot. They became IAS officers, they became lawyers, they became chartered accountants, they became professors. They lost all that spirit which drove the freedom movement. So when I was asked to write on the day on which the Supreme Court declared that there should be no Kar Seva, 3 lakh people had assembled there to do Kar Seva. The Supreme Court said, nothing doing. You should keep quiet. So I was asked to write a statement for the BJP. In this country, all that drove the freedom movement, whether it is the song Vande Mataram, or the philosophy of Sanatana Dharma and Hindu nationalism, or the idea of Ramarajya, all that had become not only irrelevant, but as something to be discarded if we have to move forward. And Ram Janmabhoomi represents all these 3. It is recalling those virtues which the freedom movement generated and which the generations after the freedom movement lost because of their own selfish aims. People wanted to be what they are. Before freedom, everybody wanted to work for the country. I am talking about everybody means every sensible, capable, honorable and capable person. Subsequently, all became pursuing careers. When I wrote that statement, Sikandar Bhatt was one of the leaders of the BJP. He said it doesn't look like a statement. It looks like a song. You know, we were all driven by desperation on the one side and hope on the other. The single movement that transformed the country was the Ram Janmabhoomi movement. And you see the opening of the Ram temple, what it did to the country. Ram was regarded as a divisive person in 1992, in 1989, people even denied the existence of Rama. But the same Ram. 65 crore people witnessed the Ram Janmabhoomi opening ceremony. 65 crore people all over the world. People cried. In fact, I can even mention the name of the person. The Indian Express managing director's wife, Ananya Goenka, is a very good friend of mine. She rang up and said, Guru, I was in the function. I don't know why. I cried for 15 minutes uncontrollably. I cannot even say why. That is Indian spirit. It cannot be divorced from Rama. It cannot be divorced from Hinduism. It cannot be divorced from Dharma. This is what has bound us. It's an inquiet, a completely, it cannot be discernible to eyes, which has bound us together. The length and breadth of India, which all great men have seen, but which the secular India felt was a danger to not only them, but to the entire country and to the world. So we are rising today. So I am extremely happy to participate in this function for the release of this book, which is not just political. It envelops a wide variety of ideas, issues, the challenges that we have faced and we will continue to face. I only will park 3 points for us moving forward. See, we are going to have a massive challenge. The liberal world will pose to us increasingly from outside India and within India. We have pincers, we have the reagents, we have widespread anachara, which is enveloping a very significant section of our educated people. And women are, particularly young women, are becoming victims of it. So we have to be very, very careful in facing up to this challenge. We have to build a proper narrative. We have got to ensure that we have to ensure that the contemporary world is linked with relevance to our past. Of course, it's already getting linked. In fact, much of it we do not know. So, the first thing is that we have to develop proper narratives. And I had occasion to discuss this issue with Vikram Sampath, who had come and met me. We had about 3 hours of discussion. We have to reorient the writing of our history, is something which we have been saying for the last several years. And this feeling cuts across even the political division that our history has not been written properly. We have to write it properly, but we need a theory of history. You cannot be finding human behavior through broken monuments. There is a continuity of the Indian civilization which has been denied to all other civilization, which has been accepted by even a West-centric document, Encyclopedia Britannica. It says there's 5,000-year physical continuity of a civilization on a standalone basis is the Indian civilization. This remark came from one child who was an Australian epigraphist. He said that this is standalone. It has nothing to do with the Babylonian. It has nothing to do with Egyptian. It's a standalone Indian continuity. This is not what we are teaching in our books. So this continuity, and it's not physical continuity, it is a continuity of ideas. We discussed the idea of Vedas. Vedas are supposed to be meaningless sounds. Somebody shouting. It's going up and coming down. It has been captured in a language later. It dated pre-script period. So it is meaningless. Somebody is shouting and you keep on 5,000 years we have kept the phonetic effect of the Vedas is something which is unbelievable in human civilization. The same sound, the same phonetic. Nobody inquired into how this happened. And they said Saraswati river is not there. And so Vedas which spoke about Saraswati river is fake. But now there is a huge hydrological and other findings which show that Saraswati indeed exists. If Saraswati existed, Vedas are not imaginary. Second, Vedas are supposed to be just sounds, meaningless sounds. But Nobel laureates, at least a dozen Nobel science laureates have said that the answers to the contemporary questions of modern science is to be found in Vedas and Upanishads. If Vedas and Upanishads contain scientific facts which the modern science cannot fathom, Vedic rishis were not poets. They were scientists. You don't understand that science. Now we are talking about a universal consciousness of which you are an integral part. Who thought of that universal consciousness that all of us are a part of? Unless we position the Indian narrative around these ideas which even the West is not only willing to accept but also willing to expound. So our narrative has to be linked to our basic sources. That's what the Prime Minister is trying to do. You see, basically we have got to clear certain cobwebs. For example, when we had a discussion about how we should project India abroad, one of the things which we use is the word ideology. The word ideology does not fit into the Hindu civilization at all. We follow darshanas, approximately equal to philosophy. So we had a discussion in the government of India as to how we should project this. The Prime Minister took the position in America in his first visit. We don't have anything called ideology. Ideology means that what you think is right, what the other man thinks is wrong. And you know, it is not some philosopher who spoke this. It is Bill Clinton who spoke this. There is a difference between philosophy and ideology. Philosophy thinks the other man has a viewpoint. Ideology thinks the other man is wrong. Ideology is the source of clash. Ideology is the product of Christianity. It was drawn into communism. You know, this is the place in 1993 I delivered a lecture, 94 I think, on communism. How the whole world was mesmerized by a blind thought. It was a blind spot. That is ideology. Ideology is against any kind of enlightenment. Philosophy promotes enlightenment. All these will have to be woven into our narrative. The modern mind will capture it. The youths will capture it. The media will lap it up. 30 years before, if he had spoken like this, nobody would have minded. Narendra Modi has brought about an ecosystem change in which these thoughts will resonate with the contemporary world, contemporary people, contemporary youth. Of course, I am not one of those who says go and change the education system. Nobody can change it so long as IAS officers are there. The society will have to change the education system. Government cannot. One IAS officer putting a positive idea, another idea person will ensure it doesn't happen. This is the system we have created and suffered for the last 75 years, and we will continue to suffer because there is no alternative to it. Why I am saying all this before these youngsters is that they are much more capable of doing the kind of work that I wanted to do, could not do because of the oppressive system. It is a release for them. So I told him my hope rests on people like you, people like Vikram Sampath, people like Rahul, Shiv, Shankar. When I see all of them, I feel so happy that we worked for an India which produced such people and more. Thank you very much.
I now call upon Rahul Shiv Shankar, author of this book, to deliver his speech. Welcome, Rahul, sir.
Good evening. You hear me every night. So I'm going to keep it short. But I want to, first of all, thank from the bottom of my heart Mr. Guru Murthy ji. His works I have been reading for 15, even 20 years. Why did I get drawn to the likes of Guru Murthy ji, Francois Gautier, and those beautiful pages once of the Indian Express that even had someone like TVR Shenoy writing for them? Where are those people today in our ecosystem? Why was I just recently told by someone who gave me back nothing, even though I gave them my soul? And those people looked at me and they said, "What is wrong with you, man? You don't look like a Sanghi. You have aquiline features." I was shocked. I think a few days later I called Guru Murthy ji. He knows what transpired. So we are still being censored. We are still being oppressed. You see, I come from two heritages. One is the Kashmiri side of my family, and one is the one that is in the south. Guru Murthy ji and Dr. Ranganathan, who is here, who's been a friend and a supporter and a person who has been able to expound and awaken our minds every evening, is a cohort in this enterprise. And what is this enterprise? To tell the story of the Hindu who was taken out of the Indian. I faced it. My family faced it at least one half in Kashmir. Guru Murthy ji faced it here in the south. We faced it in the north. No one talked about it. Name me one person who's gone to jail for that genocide. Name me, please. Not one. When the Babri Masjid came down, my grandmother was in my bedroom. We used to share a common bathroom. And she came and she says, "Baba, today civilization has woken." I am not here rationalizing the decision to demolish the Babri Masjid. It just became a metaphor for something. And V.S. Naipaul writes about it, and I quote him in my book. In the book that Siddharth and I wrote, we can never justify violence. We have suffered it enough. And neither does our dharma allow us. But there was an expression. And unfortunately, that was the expression. I wouldn't want an India where the majority needs to be heard on the back of such violent expression. That would be a crime. It would say more about those who are oppressing us than about us. But people ask me why this book was written. For many years I had been fixating on the phrase "tryst with destiny." It enters India's collective political lexicon. I'm not going to elevate that speech to anything much more. Political lexicon through Jawaharlal Nehru's much celebrated speech delivered on the midnight, intervening night of August 14 and 15. The speech was celebrated because many friends on the center left say it was the first ever enunciation of a liberal modernist idea of India. But destiny is a function of history. We can only arrive at a place when we know from where we started. If we don't even know, we have forgotten where we started from, how do we know where we have reached? But what if a nation's history was founded on appeasing an idea of India imagined largely by its colonizers? Not just the West. Our colonization started before that. What if a nation's history was founded on an idea of India that denied us its Sanatani dharmic civilizational origins and heritage? What if those people turned to us and said it never existed? Like Mr. Guru Murthy just told us. And I come from a family where 1/4 believes this. Romila Thapar is my aunt. Karan Thapar is my uncle. They say we are not Hindus. There is nothing called Hindu-ness. What sense of destiny could such a nation aspire to when, for example, it censored its own national song, Vande Mataram, scripted by one of its greatest sons and nationalists, just because it was deemed incongruous to the sensitivities of the outlook of those that colonized and then divided Bharatvarsha? Those are the people we were appeasing. That great song that was sung on the streets of Stuttgart, we don't sing here in its totality. None of us know the words beyond 2 measly stanzas. Song was given to us by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. His acolyte gave us much more. The word Hindutva comes from Mr. Chattopadhyay's writing. But it was enunciated, it was built upon by Mr. Bose, who wrote a book by that name. And today, what can I say? That word is spat upon us like it's an abuse. What sense of destiny could such a nation aspire to when, for example, it deemed any attempt to reclaim or even appreciate the grandeur of India's Hindu civilization? Let me remind you here, through a concrete example, that Nehru opposed the rebuilding of the Somnath temple because to him it represented a dangerous Hindu revivalism. Can you believe it? It was as if the rights guaranteeing freedom to profess and practice one's religion applied to all but Hindus in this country. Let me remind you that his intellectual progeny in the Congress gave us the Places of Worship Act 1991, which hasn't still been struck down, because the struggle continues, my friends. That act barred Hindus from reclaiming their most sacred places of worship for fear of alienating a community. But this same Congress ecosystem has no qualms about championing worldwide the rights of Aboriginals to reclaim their heritage, sometimes even through force. Pull down the statues, we support you. That's what's happening on campuses, in cities. And who is supporting them here? The so-called liberal left, as if we are not liberal. I never use the word liberal in the context of the left, ever. Never use it, sir. Anyone who uses it, tell them they are wrong. We are equally, if not more, liberal. We are much more liberal. We don't shadow ban this book. Penguin gave us an opportunity. Let me tell you, it didn't come easy. It was a day which I'll never forget. Primanka Goswami and Vikram Sampath both came in to the office. An office which I have left because it no longer could contain the thoughts I wanted to espouse. They came and said, would you like to write a book like Rajdeep Sardesai wrote on the elections? Vikram was looking at his toes, thankfully. I said, I am not somebody who goes to Pani Puri Wala and asks them how India is going to vote and then form my opinions. I'm not that type of journalist. I will write an ideas book. The ideas came to me, I put them on a board. That script never changed. I had to bring on Siddharth because we were given a very short timeline. It's impossible to do everything when you're doing a 24/7 job. But coming back to the point, I would like to ask you, what sense of destiny could such a nation aspire to when from the very beginning, for example, it protected and appeased legally the architecture of separatism, especially Muslim separatism? Why else would it jail Shyama Prasad Mukherjee? Think about that great son of Bharat for merely leading a march into a home state that I've had to flee because of that separatist instinct. And what was he asking for? He said, इस देश में दो विधान, दो प्रधान और दो निशान नहीं चलेंगे. In other words, 2 constitutions, 2 premiers and 2 flags are unacceptable in our nation. They jailed him. They jailed him. The same so-called liberal left that talks about human rights, that talks about liberty of free speech, they jailed him. He died in jail. Some people say he was killed, denied best medical care. For what? For asking for one India, one law, one constitution, one identity. Why else would a state selectively codify the personal laws of only the Hindu community? Why else would a state control only Hindu temples? You're mistaken to think that the loss of political power, yes, the Congress is right now nowhere, has weakened those who hold the keys to this Nehruvian worldview. Today, when Prime Minister Modi is pivoting India back to reclaim its Hindu dharmic civilizational past, they have launched a very effective global campaign to allege that the BJP RSS is turning India into a Muslim Pakistan, a Hindu theocratic state where all others will be excommunicated, excluded, persecuted and eliminated. Eliminated, they are saying. In 2 days I will be speaking to Salvatore Babones, who has written reams and reams about how this propaganda thrives in the West to bring down an ecosystem here which is resurgent, an idea of India, idea of Bharat, which has been resilient for not just 5,000 but 8,000 to 12,000 years. It's a tradition. That fight must continue. This book is a meticulously researched argument exposing the hollowness and the malign motives behind the claims of those who thrust down upon our throats an ideology that is alien to us, that has actually morally corrupted us. Let's reclaim what was ours. Then, what was truly ours. Then we will have a tryst with destiny. Otherwise, those 3 words are hollow, ladies and gentlemen. I leave it at this. Thank you.
Sir, hello sir. Sir, I've just gave everyone an overview about what SMART is. So I doubt if we'll get another chance to discuss this with you directly. And you had also asked me about what SMART is. So sir, our mission is straightforward yet crucial, ensuring that no Hindu voice is silenced. So we launched in 2020 to combat the anti-Hindu narrative prevalent on social media, where misinformation spread rapidly. So incidents like the Palgar lynching or Ramalingam's murder or Lavanya's murder that hardly gets any international attention, while the fake reports on non-Hindus being attacked in India, fake reports, are sensationalized globally. So by offering free membership, we have brought together the platforms like Swarajya, Op India, Dharma Dispatch and hundreds of pro-Hindu YouTube content creators under one umbrella. So through our collective efforts, we have successfully countered narratives like shutting down a missionary group in Andhra Pradesh with the help of our member called the Commune Mag. So our amplification program has exposed organizations like the Open Society Foundation of George Soros, unlike anyone else on social media. So we have established Justice for Bharat, a team of lawyers providing legal aid to unfairly arrested, particularly in Tamil Nadu and West Bengal, where pro-Hindu content creators face significant threats. So moreover, we support Indic authors by providing platforms and resources to promote their books. We are funding independent translators to translate the works of Sitaram Goelji. So our sole vision and mission, it revolve around ensuring that no Hindu remain unheard and that atrocities against Hindus doesn't go unreported. Sir, I'm uncertain if we'll get another opportunity, but I'd like to take this chance to extend an invitation to Tuklak to join us as one of our valued members. It will be a privilege for us to have you, sir. Thank you. Now I invite Anand Ranganathanji to please address the gathering.
Good evening, everyone. For any DMK supporters in the audience, ni hao. It's always a pleasure to come back home. The one aspect that you need to be aware of is that I'm always invited to any place only once. Unless he writes a sequel, which I hope he does. Because I'm considered a bit too blunt. I was invited recently by a lieutenant governor to an event on the sidelines of G20, and I promptly said that he should be suspended for 3 months. Haven't heard from him since. I was 2 weeks ago invited to a seminar on politics and beyond, and I completely blasted the judiciary, and I said the wheels of judiciary aren't just grinding slowly, they've come to a halt, it's a disgrace, the collegiate system, this and that. And only later on I realized that the person sitting next to me who had lit the lamp was the ex-Chief Justice of the Allahabad High Court. I didn't even bother about whether my car was parked. I took an Uber and ran from there. No, but so I hope, Rahul, that you write a sequel and I sneak in, if not to inaugurate, just be having the pleasure to be in the audience. And what can I say about Guru Murthy ji? He honors me by saying that he is my fan, although I seriously doubt it. But what he doesn't know is that he, for me and my family, is a multi-generational fan. It's not just that I have admired him and I'm seeing him in flesh for the first time. In the 80s, my father, Professor Subramanya Ranganathan, he, while inaugurating the Indian Science Congress that was held in then Madras, and I paraphrase, he said, this is the greatest collection of wisdom and intellect except when Guru Murthy dines alone. So it's a real pleasure and an honor to be in your company, sir. And when he says repeatedly that he is in the autumn of his life, none of that. So he's in the spring of his life. Arafat became a father when he was 79. You still have 4 more years to go, sir. As far as Rahul Shiv Shankar is concerned, I mean, I would have had.
I don't want that
Maybe winter then. I had no idea that Rahul was connected to Romila Thapar and Karan Thapar. And when he quotes Nehru's messed with destiny speech, sorry, was it tryst with destiny or? I think it was messed with destiny. But I think the fact of the matter is, coming quickly to this topic because otherwise we'll miss our flight, Rahul, would be a pleasure for me. I think while sitting here and thinking about what to say, because I had the honor of being there for your Delhi launch as well, and I was very laudatory about the book. I still am. But I think a few things have cropped in my mind, which is that I don't think Narendra Modi and his 2024 is a battle for Bharat. I don't think he is battling for Bharat right now. He has battled for India and he has won that battle. I think that distinction allow me to explain in the next ensuing minutes, because I think that's a very important distinction. And I am here standing here in the land where people want to eradicate Sanatan Dharma. So that battle is far from even begun. But the fact of the matter is, all the antagonists are there. Everything is loaded against the Hindus. And when Guru Murthy ji says that the owner or the relative of Indian Express cried at the consecration, she cried. Well, I also cry when I read the Indian Express. And I cry inconsolably when I read the Hindu. So it goes. So some things, when you talk about multi-generation, sir, they haven't changed in 50, 60 years. No, I think the issue is much bigger. Before I come to what this battle of Bharat means, at least to me, let me explain to you how Modi has won the battle for India and why, in his vision, I am sure taking part in the battle of Bharat must have been there. It is there in every conscientious Indian's or Bharatiya's mind who loves the country. So of course he knows what Bharat means, he knows the distinction, of course he does. But one of the most, I would say, iconic speeches that he gave that nobody has either heard or gives credence to was, he gave it in 2008-2009 when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. And he said something very interesting. I don't know whether there's a YouTube thing of it, but I was lucky enough to have heard that. He said, in the next 15 years, I'm going to create a nano class. And people wondered, what is this nano class? Is it people who will be driving nano? Because at that point of time, Tatas had just moved to Gujarat, and maybe he thought in lieu of electoral bonds, we have somebody who's going to give 1 nano to each Gujarati. No. He said the nano class, so people asked him to explain. He said nano class would be the class which is just above the lowest socio-economic strata of our country and just below the lowest middle class. And if you look at each and every one of his decisions over the last 15 years, 3 years when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat and 10 years when he's the Prime Minister, and for the next 5 years before Amit Shah comes in and then Yogi comes in twice over, and then Annamalai, and then Jesai. But as I said, all through Rahul will be the leader of the opposition. Not this Rahul. Not this Rahul, please. Either leader of the opposition or opposition of leader. That also a distinction has to be made.
There will be no opposition there.
No, sir, we would be the opposition. We need to be the opposition. I'll come to that. No, in the last 15 years, especially in the last 10 years, he has created this nano class. People have forgotten this. They're not giving him credence for this. 200 to 300 million people have this status. And I can give you the numbers and I can tell you why this is the battle for India that he has won. You see, people don't realize, and I was just going through some of the results that came out 2 days ago. And in fact, on Rahul's show, I said, why does Modi keep on winning? I mean, he's beating anti-incumbency not once, twice, 3 times over. It's unreal. This is, his opinion poll shows it's a pro-incumbency vote. It's unheard of. It's crazy. Yes. It is because Obamacare, when it started in 2011, it's been 14 years, 13 years, 40 million Americans have Obamacare. Modi Care started in 2018, Ayushman. The population of people with Modi Care is more than the population of United States right now. 330 million Indians right now have Ayushman Bharat. The population, more than the population of United Kingdom, has undergone through Ayushman Bharat successful medical treatment. 65 million people have been treated on it. This is remarkable. 68 to 70% of our total health expenditure used to be out-of-pocket expenditure for ordinary Indians. It was the fastest way to slide into poverty. That is all by this year end set to reduce by half. This is remarkable. This is unprecedented. And all this has happened in the last 10 years, in the last 6 years. You have to go a little bit beyond just the numbers, and as it may happen because of maybe speed or stealth or whatever, the BJP and its own team do not look beyond the numbers that they have generated. So they just say, we've built 120 million toilets. We've made 110 million water connections. If you could just correct the echo, please. Thank you. We don't want to be in an echo chamber. What they don't realize is that every new toilet that has been built of the 120 million toilets has saved the family 52,000 rupees in health costs. Every toilet. Now go back and calculate. Why wouldn't people be grateful to Modi or to the government? Every new tap connection has reduced the health costs that used to be given for combating waterborne infections. Diarrhea deaths under 5 have reduced by half in the last 9 years. Even I did not know these numbers. You have to dig a bit deeper. It's not just enough to say we've built so many toilets, we've built so many tap connections. What is the result? Why are people happy with a tap, with a toilet? It's because their lives are being their lives are being transformed. This is the battle for India. So when Modi gives gas connection to 100 million gas connections, he's not just giving a cylinder. He's actually saving 150,000 lives every year, because household pollution is the biggest mortality factor, child mortality factor. People don't know this. Most infants die not because of some born virus or some cholera or something. They die because of household cooking pollution. This is what he has done in the last 10. And I can go on. There are other figures as well. They are a bit subsidiary to life-saving schemes. Mudra loans, 430 million Mudra loans. Homes, 44 million homes. That's a welfare thing. But the fact of the matter is, this, perhaps, I haven't met him, perhaps this was his vision, that before this battle of Bharat commences, before the battle commences, where the battle only commences when all our stomachs are full, when these are the issues, when the people who are going to fight already have a toilet, already have a tap water connection, already have a gas cylinder, they don't need the government. That battle that those people are going to fight is going to happen after 15 years. I think this is what he thought. Because there's no point, Rahul, reading and imbibing this book or the book that I have written about Hindus in Hindu Rashtra. No point preaching to a man who says, it's all very well, you want battle that Narendra Modi has fought. But sooner or later, you are going to have enough gas connections, you're going to have enough toilets, you're going to have enough tap water, enough homes, enough health insurance. Then what do? You've created a nano class. That nano class will move upward, will come lower middle class, aspirational, will move to middle class. You will create a 400 million strong Indian middle class. Your GDP per capita will rise to, it's now 6,000 PPP, maybe 10,000 middle income economy. What are those people going to do then, when the stomachs are full, when they are educated? That is when they are going to fight for the issues that we are talking about. And that is why we are woefully, as a country, ill-prepared for it. And that is why I'm never going to be invited again, because I'm going to say this. That yes, the RSS has worked tremendously over the last 100 years. Guru Murthy ji says it has drunk poison, absolutely no doubt about it. But its sword has been blunted. Everyone should realize it. Because when an organization whose motto is to work for Hindu interests says that just give us 3 temples, we're not worried about 1800 or 40,000 temples, they are demolished. You know it, that you've lost the battle. You've lost the battle for Bharat when you're not worried about 39,997 temples. To lose sight of the first principles and to get justice through them is to be blunted, is to be guilt-tripped, almost into this morass or abyss of self-loathing. And that is what has happened. And I disagree with Guru Murthy ji when he says the new generation, I have hope. No, sir, your generation had bigger stalwarts than our generation has. Sitaram Goel ji, so many others, so many, you included. Why did you lose that battle? You didn't lose it because you didn't work hard. You're working 10 times harder even now than we are. The point is the ignorance that we are wallowing in. Since that messed with destiny speech, our senses were deliberately blunted, and it's very appropriate that Rahul took the example of Somnath consecration when Nehru feared Hindu revivalism. And if you look in the ensuing 70-75 years, every step of the way, Hindus, their rights have been trampled on, their demand for rights have been blunted to such an extent that now Hindus don't even feel that they should stand up and approach the courts to give them their demolished temples. You see, it is one thing that in a democracy, the most sacred right is to be able to knock the doors of justice, of the courts, and to seek justice. If that cannot happen, then it is not a democracy. But for the last 30 years, Hindus cannot even approach the court. I don't care if the justices say, well, this temple shouldn't go to you. That's fair enough. They have deliberated and they have come to a conclusion, like in the Ayodhya judgment. Had it gone 5-0 against, one would have respected that. Because yes, that is the judge's opinion. Do what you may of it. But the fact that a Hindu cannot even approach the judge, cannot approach the bench, how is this still a democracy? But forget asking UPA or Nehru or Indira or Rajiv. For the last 10 years, it is supposedly a government elected by the Hindus for the Hindus. And Hindus are not asking to discriminate against people of other faiths. They're just saying stop discrimination against us. Stop. It's not a question of appeasement. It's a question of apartheid. When you talk of Waqf Act, when you talk of Places of Worship Act, when you talk of the fact, as Rahul did, that the Supreme Court says we are not going to open the cases of atrocities against the Kashmiri Hindus that happened. And then 6 months down the line, the Supreme Court opens an SIT into the atrocities committed against the Sikhs in 1984 that happened 7 years before the atrocities in 1990. Is this actually a democracy? Forget about justices for Hindus. These are justices for humans we are talking about. If that is being denied, then I'm afraid you've lost the battle of Bharat even before you've entered it. And I'll tell you how you've lost it. I'll give you a few examples. You've lost the battle of Bharat even before you've entered it, when the Chief Justice or the Justice of the Supreme Court, former Justice, says that this, where there is dharma, there is victory. The motto of Supreme Court is wrong. It should be removed. This is the Supreme Court Justice saying it. You've lost the battle. Let's admit it. You've lost the battle when every time you celebrate Tipu Jayanti, you've lost the battle of Bharat. That monster who killed hundreds, lakhs of Hindus, demolished 800 temples, converted lakhs. His own words from his own manifesto says, annihilation of the infidel is my sacred duty. And you're celebrating him. You've lost the battle of Bharat. You lost the battle of Bharat when the nearest railway station to Nalanda is named after the person who set fire to Nalanda, Bakhtiyarpur. And you don't change it in the last 10 years. It's not a question of changing or not changing the textbooks. It's a question of realizing what is right and what is wrong. It's a question of asking, is there or would there ever be a Hitler Road in Tel Aviv? If there isn't, then why was there a Aurangzeb Road in Delhi? Why there still is Babar Road in Delhi? Why? That's the question that has to be asked. And I think when the Prime Minister celebrates St. Francis Xavier, when the Prime Minister gives a chadar to the person who said destroying Hindu temples should be my aim, is my aim, you've lost it. The fact of the matter is we've lost this battle of Bharat every single day because our senses have been blunted. How do we awaken this sense? It's not easy. It's not easy because I am not one for a bottom-up approach that invariably leads to, for example, the spring that happened, the Arab Spring or revolution, faulty bloodshed. I am for top-down. The role of the people should be to elect the people who promise change, who promise they will deliver this. And if those people don't deliver it, then you don't expect a billion people to rise up and say, okay, we will bring the change. They brought the change by bringing in the government. If the government stops working for you, the alternative is not for you to hit the streets, which is what the left does. No, that would destroy the country. The only reason why the Battle of Bharat has not begun is A, because the Battle of India has been won, but not completely. But more importantly, it is because the Hindus themselves haven't realized that we have to enter this battle. Otherwise, we will not survive. I will give you one small example before I end. You see, many people feel, why should temples, what great would happen if the temples are taken out of state control? 100,000 temples, lakhs of acres. My good friend T.R. Ramesh could be arrested any moment, the kind of amazing work that he is doing for us. Same goes for Vishnu Jain. These are the real people, Guru Murthy ji, who are working for us. And according to him, what should be fetching 6,000 crores to the Tamil Nadu government every year through rent that it sets on the Hindu temples and the land that it controls, it fetches not even 1%, 58 crores. So that 5,900 odd crores that should be rightfully belonging to Hindus is just gone, is evaporated. Now why should, you may say, well, okay, all right, this country loses hundreds, lakhs of crores of money, it's go down the drain. Why worry about it? I'll tell you why worry about it, because, and this is why I never denigrate or lament anybody who takes rice bag and converts. I am speaking metaphorically. Because given a choice of certain deaths of your wife or your husband, or your son cannot go to a school, or it needs to be hospitalized, or you don't know where your next meal is coming from, why wouldn't I take a rice bag? Why wouldn't? It's a question of survival. It's a question of choosing a hospital or dying. It's a question of being uneducated all your life or choosing a school. But all the churches, their money, all the mosques, their money goes into building tens of thousands of schools and hospitals, which the Hindu temples are being denied. So that leaving the fold and entering somebody else's religion can be stopped. If only there were tens of thousands of Hindu temples, schools being run by them, hospitals being run by them. Why would one feel the need to take rice bag and convert? This is what we have to understand. But have we understood it? I doubt it. So I shall leave on that rather despondent note, but in the hope that things improve for the better and that Rahul, my dear friend, writes a sequel. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anand Ranganathan-ji. As always, you were wonderful. So I invite Dharmaji. He's a former journalist of Dinamalar and now the owner of Nationalist Madrasi channel. So before I invite him, I have a request to all of you. Please take your phones, go to Twitter and follow Smart handle. Okay, Smart for Bharat.
Please come.
So, thank you so much, everyone. That too in a Saturday afternoon. We were just thinking about to have this program by evening actually, and so there was another YouTube channel which is also a member of Smart Chanakya YouTube anniversary which is happening. So yeah, so we thought that we would push it earlier. So I'll tell a backstory. I will tell a short backstory about this. So when the Delhi launch was happening, I asked Rahul sir that sir, can we have a launch in Tamil Nadu, because these are the things which is need to be told to the people of Tamil Nadu, especially in the people of Tamil Nadu, and these are the narratives which people should know, because every time, last time I think in 2019, only Kerala and Tamil Nadu voted away from India, because the rest of the India voted towards Modi, and the other two states, I think only Kerala and Tamil Nadu voted for Rahul Gandhi, I think. So I told Rahul sir, we should definitely have a launch over here in Tamil Nadu. Then he said, definitely, I'll be there. So you don't worry about that. You just plan everything and you just tell me, I'll be there over there. And then from once he said yes, every week I would just ping him, sir, when we can have the launch, when we can have the launch, and when we can have the launch. And he was obviously, you know how busy he is, and all the dignitaries also. And then he gave me a certain dates. Okay, look, in February I'm available this week. Look, in March I'm available this week. So then I approached Muthuji, Smart's director, and then he told me like, yes, we would be very happy to launch this book. And so then it all happened, and we didn't expect this kind of a crowd, to say openly. We expected some 50 to 100, because in the last program, I would say there was huge problem created by the TN government. Especially, we all know that, and it was we didn't know that people would be coming or not, whether people would be knowing about this program or not. So we were. Yeah, venue has been shifted. There was a lot of problem which was been happening last time. So we were a bit like mix up the mind, and then we came up with this thing. So firstly, I would thank Rahul Shankar sir from coming all the way and being there. Thank you, Rahul sir. Thank you, Siddharth sir. And Siddharth sir, yes, Siddharth sir also, he is having some online exams. He told me, yes, I will postpone that, I will come here. So thank you, Siddharth sir, for your wonderful travel and your wonderful work done with Rahul Shankar sir. So then our chief guest, yes, Guru Murthy sir, and whenever there is something right which is coming up in Tamil Nadu, he's the first person to support all the right works which is for the nation and which is for all the which is for the Bharat. So I thank Guru Murthy sir for coming all the way in his busy schedule. Then our special guest Anand Ranganathan sir. Sir, not one time or twice, we invite you for all our programs. This is the open invitation to you, not once or twice. So you should be a regular guest for the future upcoming programs also. So you should be our identity. I request you for that. Thank you, Anand Ranganathan sir, for coming all the way from Delhi to Tamil Nadu. And I thank everyone personally. So many dignitaries came, Rare Publications Ranganathan sir, Nambi Narayanan sir, and Hukum lyricist Super Subbu sir. So thank you, many of them. Javir sir, I shouldn't thank him because he is a part of us. So he came because Javir sir doesn't attend any programs. So for attending this program, I personally thank Javir sir, Chandrasekhar ji, and everyone, Raja sir, everyone. I thank everyone, especially for coming all the way and gracing this occasion. And people, without you, this program is not at all possible. Thank you for gracing us. In future, we are going to do many programs like this. Be a part of this and make us strong. Without your presence, we are not strong. So make us strong with your presence. Thank you. And at last, thanks to my photographers, Pugal and his team, and the press people who have been covering the program like anything. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
We have some refreshments outside, and Rahul ji's book is also available, and one of our member, Commune Mag, has displayed some t-shirts outside, so you can go and check it out. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Excuse me. So we would like to finish the function with the national